All right. Hello, world. How you guys doing? Welcome, everyone. A little music going. Feeling good. Looking good. Renan. Such a cool name, Renan. Good to have you here. So basically, I'm going to be covering how to use smart objects. That's one. And a bunch of other things. So essentially, how to use smart objects, libraries, symbols in Photoshop and Illustrator. So Moose, good to see you. Moose Photos, Renan. So again, all of those things, like so many things, right? Like what's the best way to work with assets? Really is what I could have entitled this. Okay. But that's the plan. Sasso, that sounds good to you. We'll get this party started. Welcome, my friend. Here I am actually with super high hair, but here I am in Illustrator right now, and I'm going to dive on into this if you guys are ready to rock. So, Sass front, Yaki, awesome. So let's do this. I'm in Illustrator. I'm going to shrink my head. And there I go. Let's get this party started. Awesome. So these are I'm gonna kind of talk about maybe a couple of things, okay? So and kind of the evolution of some things. So in Illustrator, we have what are called symbols right down there at the bottom. I know I kind of scrolled off the page, but you have symbols in Illustrator. So technically, I could have assets like this fork and knife, and I can drag it in there and I can convert this to a symbol. Honestly, this is just the old way of doing things, right? This worked really well when it came to Adobe Animate, and does work well when it comes to Adobe Animate. So that's why you have movie clip and graphic. This is animate related stuff. So silverware, right? So that's when you're using symbols, as you typically when you're dealing with, integration with Illustrator and Adobe Animate. Okay, registration point. Let's click OK, right? And notice now it's a symbol, so I can edit a symbol now if I want to. I can drag out multiple, right? So I can bring in lots of place settings, if you will, as I drag these out, okay? But obviously, like if I edit one and maybe give it a stroke, it's going to give it a stroke for all of them, okay? So that's effectively what symbols do. You have a symbol and then instances of that symbol. There we go, like that. Okay, so there's that. Easy enough, right? Boom, we have that covered. Marking that off the list. We're all proficient when it comes to symbols, all right? Now let's get into smart objects and libraries. Because just like you have symbols in Illustrator, well, in Photoshop, you have smart objects. Okay, so here I am in good old Photoshop. And here I have this particular image. And let me just step this back a little bit, because this is typically what I do. Bring this to the top. So I typically have a huge image, right? I'm like, okay, for this big image, I'd want to make this turn this into a smart object. We'll just call this sandwich. Right? If I right click, I can convert this. Let me drag this out. Right click, I can convert this to a smart object. This effectively makes this a Photoshop document inside of a Photoshop document, and kind of works in the same way a symbol does. Okay, so if I double click on it, here's this. I can make a change, such as flipping horizontal, and then it will flip it here as well. So that's that. Hello, Gerald. You guys probably know, you guys should know about smart objects, but the thing is like I talk to people that just don't. So if I shrink this down, right, typically if I shrink this down and it's not a smart object, so if I take something and I take this sandwich and this one is not a smart object, and I'll shrink it down, the same size. So we now have one that's a smart object, and one that isn't, okay? So this is my smart object, and this top one isn't. So if I decide to increase the size of both of these, size them back up, well, I've already destroyed the resolution on that. Since I shrunk this one down, this top one, the resolution is horrible because I got rid of all that resolution when I shrunk it down, okay? So anytime you're going to make things larger or smaller or whatever, make them smart objects. Done and done. Let's move on, guys. Hey, Bosnia's in the house. Bosnia's in the house. B to the DZ. What's up, buddy? Tony, Gerald, Moritz, good to see ya. And yeah, so anyways, here's my smart object. So I just make everything that I'm gonna manipulate a lot, I turn them into smart objects, okay? And that just gives me the control, because like, what if I want it to fit in 1 square or 5 squares? Well, I could always size it up and down, okay? And I can have 15 different versions of it, right? So I can have all these different versions of the same sandwich, and it's all referencing that same file right here. So if I make a change to it, if I flip it horizontally again, right, it's going to change it everywhere. It all links back to that same file just like a symbol does. Ooh, sorry about that. Let's move this up. Oops. My mic gets in the way when working. Done, right? I like hearing where you guys are from. Temecula, California? Gerald, I've never been there. I am from good old Denver, Colorado. Paul is in Denver, where it's beautiful here. Hey from the UK, Jay Yaz. Good to have you guys here. Clipping path, boom. Where is this? Oh, there it is. Oops. Zoop. Clipping path. Austria is in the house. All right, so this is good. So let's get into working with Creative Cloud libraries and those assets. Okay, so let's just break the link to that symbol. Let's not worry about symbols in Illustrator. Let's not worry about smart objects. Let's get into what we're dealing with now, which happens to be library items. Okay, so let's take this text saying, okay, this logo is what I'm going to be using many, many times across many different projects. Brooklyn's in the house with Rick Brown. What's up, Rick Brown? How are you doing, buddy? Brooklyn's in the house. Salt Lake City's in the house. Awesome, guys. I actually haven't been on YouTube in a couple of weeks. So, PJ, the Republic of Texas. That's right. Are you going to secede from the Union? Texas? Just going. Warrior Jasak from Poland. Love Poland. I'm like part Polish or somewhat Polish on my mom's side, so that's cool. All right, so here we go. I'm going to make a new library. So I'm going to create a new library, and it's just going to be called Dishy, because that's the name of this project. Here's my Dishy library. Now I can take this text and I can drag it right in there to that library. Okay, now this is a library item. In fact, there it is. You can see it. And we'll just call this logo. But now what's great is I could use this logo anywhere I want. So I can be in Photoshop and I'm like, oh, I need that Dishy logo. Where is it? Do I have to hunt around on my desktop? No. I can just open up that library and you can see this is my library graphic, dropping it in just like that, okay? It's like, oh wait, I'm using it in InDesign, right? Let's get rid of it there. I need to use it for a print project here. Well, let's go ahead and place from CC Libraries. It's just gonna open up Dishy. Here's Dishy, CC Libraries, InDesign, adding it. Sorry for it being white on white, shame on me, but it actually is there, just so you know. Okay, you can see it right here. Boom. Little, shows that it's cloud connected. Perfect. I'm in After Effects. Let's get rid of that one. Opening up the same library, Dishy, Boom. Done. I'm like, oh, that's the wrong logo. That's what always happens. Oh, the new one's just slightly different. Fine. Yeah, so Gerald, I'm using Dishy from the XD project because I'm lazy and did not make new assets. But I also wanted to keep this simple. All right, this is actually, let's make it a little bit different. Dishy, I'm going to take this. I'm like, okay, no, it needs to be changed, right? It needs to be something else. First off, note that when you drag this into the library, this one is not connected to this asset. So I need to drag this out. So this one is connected. See, it says edit original. Well, I can edit the original, but this one is just the text. Okay, right? This is the actual asset. Okay, so I'm just going to remove that. I'm going to make sure I reference this one. I could also just double click it, right? And it's going to open it up. Open up that logo with an obscure file name. Okay. Little pro tip. I'm going to try to stump Pablo here from Monterrey, Mexico. I've been to Monterrey. But you can reveal in Finder. So let's do this. Let me try this. Because remember, I put this in my library. I really don't know where it exists on my hard drive. But it actually does exist on your hard drive. We do reveal in Finder. Bop. Oh, that's where it is, right? So it's in your temporary items, like super obscure, hard to get to. But it exists everywhere. I can even access it on my iPad if I want. Rick Brown, the answer is yes. It could be shared between team members. So let's do that. Let's do that. We're going to do that for Rick Brown, and that's why I like doing this stuff live, is because we can have a conversation. Let's change this font to Lush Script. Lust. Let's do Lust Script Display. Let's take it down. Bop. Dishy. Ooh, nice. I'll share it with you. I will share it with you, Rick Brown. Let's check this out. I'm going to select this letter, or maybe I'll select this Y. I get alternates, and I'm sorry they don't actually show up too well, but I can select alternates for these letters too. Let's take this H for instance. I can select that alternate, and again, that's just a quick little pro tip. The I, have it curly. The D is going to be boring. But this is my new logo. I'm like, yeah, that is more like it. Okay, closing that file, right? Doesn't matter where it is. Oh, thank you for updating. Thank you very much. Oh, let's check in InDesign. Oh, thank you for updating in InDesign. Thank you for updating in Photoshop. Oh, and guess what? I want to have some other assets, maybe some colors in there, because I'm going to share these with my friend. Where you at, buddy? What up, PT? Hey, buddy. Yeah, Jason. I always know when it's you. What up, PT? That's awesome. Good to see you, Jason. Just going to drop in a color. So these are the other assets that I can actually store in my library. Remember, they're all linked, but it doesn't have to be just a graphic. I can drop in the fill color, the foreground color. In fact, let's add both of those. You know what? Back in Illustrator, like, what is this font? Right? This font happens to be, of course, Lust. So let's make this the paragraph style or character style. Let's do character style, adding that. And you can see I'm starting to build out this library because you know who needs it? Good old Rick Brown. Rick Brown's in the house, everybody. All right, let's get some more assets because you guys are like, okay, this is no imagery. This is boring to me. Let's get this image. Drop in an image. Drop in an image. Boom, boom. Share it. Hey, guess what? Collaborate. Collaborate is what I've selected. Now, Rick Brown, I do not have your email address, is one thing I'm realizing. But I do have Jason's, and it's Jason. No, it's not. But if there's a Jason K at Adobe, he's getting an invite. Right? John, whoever I want to send this to, I can send it to whoever. And they have the ability to edit it, or they could just view it. but they can actually edit it as well. So if Jason K is a designer, he can edit and I can collaborate with him on these assets, okay? Another way of doing this, by the way, as well, is come on over here. Let's do this real fast. Share link. I'm going to share this link, and I'll just post it to the chat. Turning it on, making it public. Allow follow, allow save. Here's the assets from the live stream. Cool, right? Here's the link. Copy link address, saving that, posting it to the chat. So here's the link to assets. Boom, boom. All right, you guys get the idea. Now you can start messing with this stuff. But you know what? I'm only allowing people to save them. Yeah, you could save the assets that I make, sure. But it also is followable. So as you guys are potentially following along with me, and as I start adding to this and changing content, the content's going to add and change, okay? So that's definitely what I like as I start to work with this after I add a new layer, that is. I'd put this somewhere. Who knows where. But I'll start to use this here. I'll start to add additional assets because remember I have, I think, some silverware somewhere. Here's some silverware that I will change the color of. In fact, let's ungroup these because I could imagine you might want to use, might want to use these separately. We'll make one color and one another color, dragging them in there. You guys get the idea. And now you have silverware. Hello from North Carolina. How are you doing, Patricia? Hey, I'm here for you. I am here for you if you have any questions. No chance to win Creative Cloud today because I just don't have that sort of power. The only thing I can give away are these assets that I will slowly make. Okay, here's some other things I'll give away. Let's do this just for fun. I've been working on these little emojis. So here's like a Paul emoji, and I think I originally started with this sort of illustration, and then I just like increased the size of the eyes. And we'll do a whole stream on this sometime. You know, kind of turned me into an emoji. And kind of did this. In fact, let's take this one right here and let's add this to the library just for fun as well, and you'll have access to that. Angelo wants Creative Cloud. I get it. I like it. Right, and there we have Paul. But that's literally how I work, guys, which is why I have all of these libraries. And honestly, half the time I don't really remember some of my files. Like I've built up such an awesome, here are all my assets centered around food, or I can do landscapes. These are all my assets. Actually, it looks like I don't have any assets for landscapes. Icons. Here are all my icons that I've purchased. But what I'm doing is I'm actually searching through all my libraries because again, I have so many of them that I've just kind of like collected. Look at this crazy miscellaneous stuff. You know, why not? Let's have some necktie icons. Why not, huh? That sort of thing. So you can kind of see what I have there, okay? But this is how I work. So you guys never see my desktop. You guys will never see my desktop. Yeah, I would love to do. I would love to do. I need to do a Jason emoji. I need to do a Rufus emoji. I need to do a Terry White emoji. That would be awesome. Michael Shays. How do you resize any logo in Illustrator and not lose quality? Javier, you'll never lose quality if it's vector. Okay? So for this tie, as I select it, let's go back to my emoji set just for kicks. I'm like, hey, I want to give me a fancy tie. Why not? Pasting it in. since it's a vector, so it's made up of all these little paths, I can resize it all day long, and it's never going to lose its quality. So I could have a ridiculous little tie or a ridiculous big tie, and it's always going to keep the resolution. Now, if it's a raster image, well, you're just like limited to the data in the raster image. So that's kind of the situation there. I want to give myself a skinny tie. Skinny tie. Skinny tie. Right? Fancy. All right, this is where I probably get a little carried away, essentially, because I'm going to start drawing stuff, but I'd start sort of making, you know, the shirt like that. You get the idea. Right click, you can go into transform and reflect, flipping that vertically, something like that. There we go. Look at them all dressed up. It's Friday night, guys. Let's get this party started. The shortcut to resize and copy, well, essentially all you need to do is, if I want to put a tie over here, select this stuff, just hold down the Alt key and then drag, and then if you hold on the Shift key, it will constrain it, so you can't move it up and down. It'll constrain to 90-degree angles. But basically, it's the Alt or Option key. And then if you want to flip something, you can right-click, and then you go down to Transform and Reflect. Okay. And that will bring up this menu. But another way to get to this Reflect menu is what you could do is you could go right over here to the Reflect tool. And if you just double click on the tool itself, you'll get those properties. So now I can reflect or flip it or do whatever I want to it. In fact, we'll watch it flip, all that fun stuff. You get the idea. Cool? Cool. Adobe emojis. Oh, Gerald, dude, I totally want to do it now just based on your little play on words. Jason, I need I will make you an emoji. I think, has nobody made it you? You're probably already an emoji, actually. So what are we talking about? So that's how that works. I can start taking this, and then again, that's what I've even done for this. So I have my Paul, my assets for Paul, and you can see a couple of them in here that I'll just continually use. Let me do you one better, guys. You ready for this? This is bonus because I'm gonna kind of wrap it up. I'm kind of, you know, again, I can, just so you know, just kind of finish up what I was talking about. As soon as I make a change in here to any of these assets, whatever I want to do, if I want to even give it an outline, it's going to change everywhere. So if it changes in here, it's going to change everywhere. Okay, so you can see it change again in Illustrator, in Photoshop, all that fun stuff. If I remember in Photoshop and it's not, I don't see it change. Okay, notice how it shows me this cloud icon right there, which is cool. But sometimes you'll have a little warning right there. So if I gave this to Javier or, you know, anyone else in the chat, Gerald. Yeah, buddy, T. White's in the house. Good to see you guys. I like the whole gang's here. It feels good. So Rick Brown, if I would have shared this with Rick Brown, if we're collaborating together, if I'm collaborating with Terry or something like that, he might have made a change to this, and you'll get a little warning right here. Say, hey, warning, this needs to be updated. Because I never want to open up this layout and to have all the assets change, because all of the assets are in our Creative Cloud library assets. So therefore, it just means update all modified content in case it's not updated. Boop. T. White, I want to make like an emoji of you, buddy. Gradient skin shading, there's no real shortcut to that when it comes to that, but it's kind of good that you guys kind of want to know about that sort of thing. I'll show you what I just made, actually, as I did this earlier as well, since you guys are into emojis. I did a little baby Groot. So you guys remember Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy? This is baby Groot at the end. And here's the little emoticon for little baby Groot. So to answer your question around shading, if I select this, I typically will use the gradient tool. So if you select that, you have control over where it starts, where it finishes, obviously like the size of it as well. And then you can also do a click and drag if you want to, if that's a little bit easier. But I was trying to kind of make the light come from sort of the lower part right there, okay? And we can even do odd shapes right here. If I grab this dot right here, I can do sort of, sort of an oval as opposed to a sphere. Rotate. You get the idea. Cool? So that's typically what I do. I wanted to show you something else that I was like really excited about, and I am just drawing a blank right now. I'm trying to think really. Oh yeah, this is what I was going to do. Check this out. Since we're talking about, making assets and everything like that, I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to copy him. I'm going to bring him in. I can bring him into Photoshop, sure. So when you paste in items from Photoshop to Illustrator, you get different options. Typically, you're probably going to do Smart Object, but I sometimes need to do a shape layer if it's an actual icon. But Smart Object, see, this is kind of interesting. I always think this is interesting, and Terry and Jason will probably agree with me. Like, I'm going to make this paste it as a Smart Object and add to my current library. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Paste it in, because Groot's got to eat too. It's pasted in as a smart object. Okay, so look, this is my vector smart object right in here. Okay, but I sometimes refer to it just as a graphic too, because anytime I have a shape selected and right down here, it's just called graphic. But another way to say that is smart object too. So it's kind of weird that this gets pasted in as a vector smart object when it's just basically a library graphic. So semantics, all I really look for are these. Oh, hopefully that zooming is working. I look for that little cloud right there. It says, hey, you know what? I'm actually linked to something in the library panel, and that something is called Groot. Why not? Groot. Boom. Hey, let's take this to the next level now. Check this out. Let me just do this really fast. Let's go to Windows, Extensions. Font Self Maker. So since we're making an emoji, I'm thinking, okay, well, once I've kind of passed these files around, I can actually, make my own color fonts in Photoshop thanks to Font Self Maker for Photoshop. Okay? So, again, this is not an Adobe property or anything, but it's certainly pretty cool, and since we're talking about emojis, I thought it'd be appropriate. We'll just type in X and then create glyph is what I'm doing. So now the X key is going to be Groot at this point, and I can actually even adjust the spacing between Groot and the next emoticon. Okay, yeah, I can throw it in the... And then once you're done, you can just click export. So as soon as I finish this font, I have the Groot font, which would be super fun. What a great idea. And it's just made up of branches. But I can go ahead and make that, and there's my open typeface, or open type font, or font face. And now there it is, and it's on my desktop. Groot, install. The lamest font ever because it's just one character. Install it though. Why not? And that's done. Right? So I've just made my own color font with this emoji. So when I come back here later and I decide I want to use the Groot font, Groot, T, there it is, bop, and then type in X, and there's my little friend. What's up, buddy? He's so little. So let me make sure, yeah, Groot is in the library. Now you guys have access to Groot if you want to access that library. So again, fun stuff. Totally want to grab an image of Jason and Terry because they'd be fun to do as little emoticons. So excited. What a great idea. I hope I have time. Yeah, let's go beyond that. Again, you guys are kind of getting a sense for why you'd use libraries. Everything's always connected. So even if I'm in After Effects, you know, boom, look, it's already there, by the way. Let me just delete this layer, okay? Let's just get rid of some of this stuff. Let me just show you how this works. So not only do we have Groot there, we have Dishy. Again, I'm in After Effects. There it is, kind of a small project. And just kind of take a look at it. Here's that vector asset right here. What happens if I change this? If I double click on it, it's actually going to open up in Illustrator, whatever made it, and then I can come in here and then I can change it accordingly. So let's just change this like that to a blue, just so you get that visualization. And then if I come back into After Effects, you can see obviously it's changed to blue because it's linked through Creative Cloud libraries. Same thing for InDesign, on and on and on. Cool, guys? Easy enough? B to the DZ. I need to ask you guys, is there any tutorial on how to make edges of cutout smooth? I do not know what you're talking about. Smooth edges for things? Smooth edges for what? You're a good man. Hey, I'll tell you what, I can show you a number of ways. If you want smooth edges, typically you want to use Illustrator because everything here is kind of dealing with math. But if I wanted to make some sort of rectangle, I can do that. Okay, and let's just make this, the edges, a different color. So here it is. You can see the edges are blue. Okay, these edges are always going to be smooth because it's vector. Okay, and I can even round the corners if I care to as well. So just clicking and dragging on those little dots, and now you have smooth corners. So that's easy enough, right? So you can easily see how you could even start making your own Groot, right? You kind of have it start like this. I can hold down the what key is it? I thought it was going to be the Alt key if I click and drag. I'm going to unlock this basically, but I can like change the corners individually by going into the shape. Change that to 0. Change this to 0. And this is my sort of start of Groot, if you will. Okay. I can start adding points, stuff like that. Changing the color. Adjusting the shape. You know. Oh, I didn't want this to be that way. Click. Click. All right, I'm getting beyond myself. Smooth edging? I don't know, like with masks? Maybe with masks. We do masks all day long too. There's also a smooth tool that works well with the pencil tool. Erica Larson, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's awesome. Because that's what happens. You might actually use the pencil tool and be like, okay, I'm going to draw something and it's going to be glorious, right? And it might be set to accurate. But typically it'd be like, I'm going to draw Groot and I'm going to be awesome with it. Like Groot looks something like this. Oh, I'm horrible. Look at all those. Look at all of those Bezier, all those points. Not good. Double click on it. I can change this to smooth. So double clicking on the tool will allow you to change. Even this isn't that great, but that's okay. Zoop. Now I have this nice, all these smooth lines compared to what I had before. Okay. Starting to look like a footprint. And what Erica is talking about is the smooth tool right in here. So there's a number of ways to, even after the fact, to correct this. go back in here. Give it some color. Smooth tool, which there's also a shortcut for it as well, by the way. Like even while I'm using the pencil, did you know this? If I'm using the pencil, if I double click, Option key toggles to the smooth tool as well. So just make sure that's checked. And again, when you're using the pencil, I'll hold down the Option key and I can start to smooth this out, and I can continue to draw things and then smooth it out. Smooth it out. Cool. Yep. Thank you, Erica. We are on the same page. I'm waiting to see your portfolio now, Erica. You know what you're doing. So that's definitely cool to see. But again, once you create your assets, it's nice that, yeah, this is vector. I'm going to have this asset. Hopefully it's going to look a lot prettier like this final Groot that I have here, right, after you've done all of that work. And then again, you just like drop it into your library and it's always available to you. Cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool, Erica. So just double click. And a lot of people may or may not know about this stuff. Even let's just take this leaf. You know, let's do this. For a lot of these tools, I have 2 leaves now, right? Let's actually group. Let's just get rid of this middle one. We're going to do the changing of the seasons, right? From leaf to leaf. I have the blend tool. Blend tool will allow me to blend from one object to another, right? And look at all these lines it did. If I double click on the blend tool as well, it will also give you the additional options. So here I can say, hey, you know what, make this specified steps and make it 6 steps. And now you can see it do its thing. So that's just the blend tool. Again, just those options when you double click on a tool. Here it is, your eyedropper options. You can see all the ones that you get here. How do you import Illustrator files into Photoshop if Photoshop is not available on the same machine? Yeah, place them in the Creative Cloud library. Boom! Gerald kills it. You're the man. Oh, guys, look at one other thing. Since we're just kind of just wrapping right now, let's undo these. There's about 1,000 other things that I want to talk to you guys about. What if I want to make these leaves look like they're falling or like somehow random? Well, taking all these object, expand, ungroup. Okay, so they're all individual. This is something I actually ran into the other day. There's a script called Randomizer 3, and this is just a script that you can find out there if you Google it, and this will actually randomize whatever you have selected. Opacity, position, right? Rotation, make that random, and then scaling. Clicking OK, and you can see how crazy that got. It got a little bit too crazy, but now I can go ahead and maybe use that for Groot as the background, pasting that in. Cool, guys. All right. Again, all I'm doing is making assets that are going into this Creative Cloud library that is being shared with you guys. These are my abstract leaves that you now have access to. Yeah, so live stream, you could always scrub back on it, and you guys would be good. So, yeah, that's what I have for you. Just making fun stuff, guys. I hope you appreciate it. Just kind of hanging out with you guys on a Friday afternoon here in Colorado. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I've been going for about 40 minutes now, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. The big thing is that you now have access to this Creative Cloud library that I can always add to. Let's make sure that I still... I could always repost this library just to kind of show you the power of it. But that's basically where I put all of my stuff. And now you know. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Angelo, Erica, Christopher, Gerald. Vector from the Vector Boom site. That's where the randomizer script comes from. Okay, cool. Can't remember where I got it, but I kind of like the two extensions that I just showed you today, which are pretty slick. One happens to be the randomizer, and then I used the font self maker for Photoshop. Yeah. So I'll probably have a session on sort of making your own color fonts, because I think that would be fun. So, all right, guys, I'm out. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Makes me feel less lonely living here on a Friday night. That's what I do for fun. But thank you guys. And not only that, I'm going to end with this. Alright guys, that's what I wanted to end with. We basically are having a live illustration event next week. As you just saw, you can go to adobelive.com. We're basically going to be making t-shirts and sharing those with you, giving them away. We have Jeanette, we have Orlando. Rob's going to be there, just basically some fantastic illustrators. I mean, look at super dope artists. Kyle Webster's going to be there. It's going to be really fun. So that's what's going on. Join me and some of these crazy cats next week on adobelive.com. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, morning, night.